Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Jellico Creek Baptist Church, and thank you all for coming out. Well, I don't guess there's anyone here really, but on the YouTube and on FaceTime, thank you all for coming out this morning and listening to our Memorial Day service. And for all those that are listening today, especially those that served our country, we want here at Jellico Creek, we want to extend you a very, very heartfelt thank you for the service that you provided for our country, men and women alike. And each year, here in the United States, we set a day aside, a day in which we remember those individuals that served our country, that served their family, that served their friends, that served our country and for the cause of freedom. You see, after December the 7th, 1941, a week after that, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said these words, and they hold true today, and it's something that we as Americans should listen to even today, and I'm quoting here when I say this. Those who have long enjoyed such privileges that we enjoy forget in time that others have died to win this freedom for them. You see, someone has said freedom is not free. And that's certainly the case, because there have been many, many individuals who have given their lives so that we can have churches, that we can have schools, that we can enjoy the blessings that we have. But when we look around today, although we're in no wars as we were in Franklin Roosevelt's time, the biggest battle that we're facing today is the battle for the sure soul of our country, our nation. We are in a battle. We have to understand that over the past 10 to 20 years, our society, the framework in which our founding fathers stood for, has been eroding away at a slow pace. But then it's picked up. It seems that it's eroding away now faster than it ever has. And what are we going to do about it? It's accelerating beyond our wildest dreams. And you know, it doesn't make any difference politically wise who's in the White House. I'm not talking politically at all. I'm talking about the values that we once had as Americans. The things that we once stood for as Americans are eroding faster and faster and faster. The position that we find ourselves in today can be directly attributed to what we tolerated yesterday. And the position of what we find ourselves in tomorrow, the situation that we find ourselves in tomorrow, can be directly attributed to what we tolerate today. And if Christians don't come together, if we don't turn back and become a praying people, a loving people, a God-nurturing people, there will be a price that our country will have to pay. Because you see, history has a way of repeating itself. And today I'll be reading some scriptures from Daniel. And when we look at Daniel, we see that the Babylonian Empire is going through a lot of things that we can honestly see that our country is going through today. And as a matter of fact, in Daniel chapter 5, we see the total collapse of a culture. And the culture that I grew up in, my generation, seems to be collapsing. The very things that we stood for in the 50s and 60s are no longer there. And the Babylonians had this same collapse. Because you see, the Babylonians, they sit behind a big wall, a very tall wall, a very thick wall. People couldn't get in. They had all kinds of supplies set up for years and years and years. So they knew no one could get in, no one could overrun them. And they sat back and decayed from the inside out. It wasn't an enemy that crossed the walls or burst down the gates of the city. It was the enemy from within. Because you see, the Babylonians lost four things. The four things they lost, the first thing they lost remembrance. They lost their remembrance. They lost thinking about what had happened beforehand. They lost the remembrance. They lost reality. They lived in a fantasy world. They lost restraint. Anything they wanted to do and everything they wanted to do. And then the last thing, they lost respect. They lost respect for themselves. So on this Memorial Day weekend, my prayer is this. My prayer is that we become a people and a nation of remembrance. Belshazzar, the problem that he had, he was the king at this time, but the problem that he had is the same problem that many of us have today. He had no remembrance of what past generations had done, nor even what his father, Nebuchadnezzar, had to go through. Listen what Nebuchadnezzar, his predecessor, but listen what Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 4, verse 37. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are true, in his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. Pride is the thing that destroys kingdoms and nations and people faster than anything else. Because this is after what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. If we turn back over into Daniel chapter 4, verse 30, listen to what he said before he said this. And the king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of thy kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? And the Bible goes on to say, before these words even came out of his mouth, God struck him down. And he had to leave the palace and walk with the animals and graze with the animals in the field. And his hair became as feathers, and his fingernails as claws. We see that he had that pride. Look what all I've done. My goodness, with my power. And all of these things I have done. We've become a nation of that today. I have done this. I have done that. But in true reality, God is the blesser. And God is the one that has allowed us to become what we are today. You see, that pride always leads to a fall. It did in Nebuchadnezzar's instance. And you know, out of God's list of the things that God truly hates or truly despises, maybe a better word, pride is at the very top of that list. And if you don't believe me, let's go back and ask Satan. As pride caused him to get kicked out of heaven, let's go back and look at Adam and Eve as pride caused them to be kicked out of the Garden of Eden. What about King David and his pride? What about Simon Peter and his pride? Let's go and ask these people. Excuse me, and they'll be able to tell us about pride. America used to honor God. America used to be a faithful country. As a matter of fact, America used to be a country where we were unashamed of worshiping God. We were open about God, no matter where you went. But now things have changed. We were a country that was proud to say, one nation under God. But today, just like Babylon, we say that it's okay to abort our children. But it's not okay to have the Ten Commandments posted in public places. It's not okay to have prayer before public events. And if given the choice, we'll take money every single time over our principles. America is changing. And unless we as Christians can get a hold of it, there is going to be one day a mighty price that is going to be expected from us. Unfortunately, these similarities like Babylon and modern day America are all too similar. So what are we going to do? You see, a nation cannot exist and will not exist if it loses its sense of remembrance. If we can't remember where we came from, if we can't remember how we got there, how are we going to remember where we are going? You see, we have to have that sense of remembrance. Don't be fooled into thinking that God needs America to carry out His plan. Don't be fooled into thinking that God needs us to carry out His plan. God doesn't need any of us to carry out His plan because He is the King of Kings, He is the Lord of Lords, and He is the Creator of all things. God does not need us to carry out His plans. You see, we've become blind to the real cause of our problems. We say it is a financial problem. We say it is a political problem. We say it is a social problem. But the true problem that America is facing today is a spiritual problem. The spiritual problem. People, if we don't start worshiping God, if we don't turn our nation back to God, if we don't become a nation that is remembering where we have been and why God has blessed us so much, we will become a nation like all great nations, and we will fall from the grace of God. Israel did many, many times. All the 5 great civilizations before us all failed because God turned His back. And for 2,000 plus years, over 2,000 plus years, America has been a shining beacon to the world. America has been the country that has sent out God's people to preach God's word to every nation and every continent on the world. But yet in the last 10 to 20 years, those nations are now sending people to preach the gospel here in the United States. Oh, people, it's time for us to start praying for our country. It is time that Christians stand up and say, I will not allow my country to forget what got us to where we are today. We have to maintain that shining beacon, that shining light. Or we have to realize that how long will it be before God sends His judgment upon us. So on this Memorial Day, my prayer is that we become a nation of remembrance. My prayer is that we turn back to God, that we turn our nation over to God, and that we ask God for His forgiveness before it's too late. Are we willing to do that? Or are we going to continue on like Babylon? Hide behind our greatness. Hide behind past successes until God turns His back finally upon us. And our debt will be recalled, and we will have to pay that debt. My prayer is that each one of us hearing my voice today, each American today, will get down on their knees and will pray and ask God for forgiveness before it's too late. Let's pray. Father, as we get this Memorial Day weekend, I ask, Lord, for forgiveness. not only for myself and my family, Lord, but forgiveness for my nation. Lord, I love this country, and I pray, Father, that we would turn away from our sin, that we would return back to you, Lord, and remember that you are King of Kings and that you are Lord of Lords. And I pray, Father, for each veteran today that's listening to this sermon. I pray today, Father, that they too remember their sacrifices. And the sacrifices are some of their friends, Lord, that were in the service with them that gave the ultimate sacrifice. I pray, Father, that you would bless them, that you would bless those men and women who are in service today. Lord, I pray that we are forgiven of our sins. I pray, Father, that we realize, Lord, that without you we have nothing. Lord, it's not I or we that cause this country to be great. It's you, Lord. You reached out with your hand and you touched this nation, and you touched its people, and you touched its leadership, Lord. Help us before it's too late, Father, to regain that confidence. Help us, Lord, to trust you and to follow your guidance and your direction. Lord, I pray for those today that are on our prayer list and on our hearts and on our minds. Lord, I pray that you would touch them, that you would heal them in accordance with your will and wishes. And we thank you for everything that you do in our lives, Father, for we ask these things in your Son's precious and holy name. Amen. or her and Morris. We need to remember Ralph and Betty. We need to remember, let's see, who else? Anybody else you know of Betty on there? Anybody else? Let's see, I guess, Sis. We need to remember Sis and Theo. Sis has been in the hospital for a couple of weeks, was in the hospital for a couple of weeks and had to go over to rehab over in Pine Knot, but she's out now, doing better. So we need to remember her. We certainly need to remember Theo. And we need to remember all of those on our prayer list that have been on there for such a very long time. Now remember, next week we'll be doing this again. But then the week following that, June the 7th, we're going to try our very best to have our first in-church service. And by the in-church service, what we're trying to do is this. If you are apprehensive at all, if you don't want to come at all, do not come. Now listen to me. Do not come. If you can't come with a clear conscience, excuse me, if you can't come with a clear conscience, just don't come. We'll still be doing what we're doing here, but it'll only be on later on in the afternoon because we'll record it during church time and then we'll get it on, or Becky will get it on sometime Sunday afternoon, but it will be on television. But I don't want you coming just out of guilt at all. And what we've got some plans. What we're going to do is there'll be 2 people on one side of the pew, 2 people on the other, 1 person in the next pew behind them. A couple of people will be able to sit in the middle, and then 2 and 2 and 1, 2 and 2 and 1 all the way back. All right? Also, I shouldn't say this. The first ones that come are going to have to sit down front. The last ones that come are going to sit in the back. I was talking to Lola this week, and she said, well, I'll be sure to be there in about 5 after 11, and because she likes sitting in the back. And then after service is over, then those in the back will leave first, and those in the front will leave last. Right now, congregational singing is up in the air. I doubt very seriously if we have congregational singing. We've talked to some doctors and health people, and they are afraid with the singing, certainly with the mask, if we remove the mask, that germs and this coronavirus can be spread that way. Another one of the things that we'll be doing, we'll only have 1 entrance in, 1 entrance out. So you'll come in the one door and out the other door. Another thing is in our restrooms, we will be having some spray in there, some hand sanitizer, and so you just spray when you're finished in a wash your hand spray in there, have a hand wipe to open the door, the garbage can outside, and we'll be no longer passing, our new normal is no longer passing the offering plate, because there again we are just spreading germs. There'll be a box, there'll be something in the back you can place your offering into, and then Gavin will pick it up and of course give it to Phyllis to deposit. So these are some of the things that our new normal is going to be. We will not be having, well, I won't say we will not be having Vacation Bible School, but we will not be having Vacation Bible School when it was scheduled. It's on the back burner right now. And just maybe, and I'm saying maybe, that later on in the year, maybe before school starts, if school starts, that we can have it then. We just don't know. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you. The only thing that I can tell you is this. God is in control. And God is going to see us through this. And we are going to get through this. Okay? Right now we're reaching more people through the media than we've ever reached before. So it's not that we're not wanting church. It's just that times demand that we act this way. People, your old preacher, 70 years old, as I was so reminded just a few minutes ago, I'm in that category that you have to watch. And there are other people here that are older than me, so we don't want to rush this. We don't want to rush this. I'm wanting to take our time, and if things flare up or if things change from the way they are, we may not even have it June the 6th. 7th, I believe, is the first Sunday. It's the first Sunday in May, or July. June? I'll get it right. First Sunday in June. But we want to be careful. We want to be careful. So if you don't feel 100% secure, don't come. Don't feel bad. And we'll understand. Okay? We'll let you know some more and more about it as we get closer to that Sunday. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in, because like I said, we are reaching more people than we ever had. And we've already had one decision made, so God bless that. God bless this church, and God bless you. And so I'm going to turn it over now. Rebecca, whatever comes next, let's just do it, and then we will leave. God bless you.